going on, everyone? How we doing? It's Micah and nickname Musa with the Something Like the Offseason podcast. Really appreciate you tuning in. Really excited to kick off 2024. Hope your new year is off to a good direction. We're kicking off this new year with an episode from a former teammate of mine, Mr. Massey. It's an amazing story from being a top 5 tight end coming out of high school, playing SEC ball and going through JUCO and meeting me at Southern Miss before ultimately becoming an entrepreneur. Serial investor from single family homes to now giving us a lot of information about franchise and things to that effect. It's a very educational episode. He teaches you a little about franchising, especially with restaurants, teaches a little bit about single family homes, helps kind of shed light on what it's like to, ascend so much in high school and then have to fight through so much adversity to get back to where you originally wanted to be and not only get there, but surpass that level. Amazing episode. There are a bunch of nuggets in there about how you can take advantage of your time in college. Definitely worth a listen. Appreciate you all. Check in the show notes, like, subscribe, all those things. Have a good 2024. And yeah, I'll see you later. All right, Jonathan Massey, my guy, former teammate. I gotta hit you with the big four. Here we go. First one. What was the moment in high school you knew you were destined for college?
Man, you know what though, man? It was later for me than I think maybe for other people, man. No, I take that back. Nope, it was early. I remember playing. I started as a freshman. And we played my first game out the gate was our next town rival, but we shared a stadium. And we played Pascagoula. And so, man, we go. And so, the guy that my sister was talking to at the time, man, he was a big football player back in the day, known, good, fast. You know what I'm saying? Was a baller. And so after the game, he was like, I mean, he cool and all, but he's slow. Yeah. And my sister said, but he ain't but 14. And he was like, what? Oh, dog, that guy going to the league, man. And it changed the whole perception, man. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that was probably early, man. But if I'm honest, I think it was probably realistically it was later, man. It wasn't until I actually started getting recruited that like I truly knew like, okay, this for real.
Got you. I got you. That makes sense. All right. That leads us into number 2. Who was the toughest opponent you faced?
Man, that's a tough one, man.
High school.
I'm gonna honestly say, man, it was probably man on the team, man, Jamie Collins.
Jamie was
if I'm truly honest, man, dude, that was one of the first times that I've ever not been able to run the route I wanted to run, how I wanted to run it. and in particular, man, those in-breaking routes, man, whether it was like a shallow cross or whether it was a dig route.
Yeah.
Man, that was the first time that somebody was able to stop me from getting into the route, man, in my life. And so I would probably say a teammate, Jamie Collins, man.
Gotta be Jamie started at corner with me. And by the time I left and went to Hampton, Jamie was a linebacker. I was like, what the?
Yeah, man.
He
was from the corner, the safety, the linebacker.
And was rushing too.
Yes.
Crazy.
Yes.
Right. Okay, third question here. Yes. We try to give people the flowers. Who was a player that you played with that you thought had the potential to play college, to play professional, but for whatever reason never got the opportunity to?
Man, I'm gonna say, man, I got a 1 and a 2, man. I got a 1 and a 1A, 1B. I'm gonna say 1A, man, was never got to go professional. I'm gonna say Coed Riley. From George County, went to Mississippi State. Man, he was a dog, man. Played both sides of the ball. Man, at corner, I remember playing him in high school, man. And dude, for one, it was lockdown. But I remember we were on the 1-yard line going in, fumble, not me, but teammate fumbled the ball. He scoops it up, goes 99 yards to the crib, And I remember this play vividly because I'm chasing them. And I feel like every 10 yards we go down the field, it get 2 yards more separation every time. and so, man, I knew, I was like, no, this crazy, man. But I mean, he had a pretty good career at Mississippi State.
Yeah.
But man, I hate the fact, man, that he didn't get that league opportunity, man. He was a baller, man. He was a baller. And then, man, probably secondly, man, I had a 1B and I forgot that quick, man. Oh, no. Dominique Hobson, man. Man, we came out the same year, man. And man, we actually went. He didn't even get to play college at all because of the injury he had in the summer before freshman year, man. And so, man, he was a dog, man. Him and his brother Trey, both. Man, but Dominic was a dog, man. And so, man, the fact that he never got a chance to play college ball, let alone professional, man, was that was tough, man.
Man, well, that's why we do it, man. We try to give everybody their flowers. The fourth question: what was the nicest thing that a coach has ever done for you?
That's a tough one too, man. That's a tough one, man. I've had some pretty good coaches, man. I will say. Hey, man, I think, man, if I can look at this a couple ways, man. I think there's been some impactful coaches just in the way that they, whether it was utilized and nurtured my talent, and look at it that way, or truly like, a coach that looked out, man. I would say, if I'm gonna look at a coach that looked out, man, I'm gonna say when I went to junior college for a year, man, at Colin, our head coach, man, he made sure I was, about 3-4 hours away from home, man. And dude, it was nothing there. Nothing there. Every weekend I drove them 3-4 hours to get home, man, because
wow,
it wasn't nothing there to do, man. Every weekend, man, for a year. And so, man, every now and then there'll be weekends where I just didn't have the gas money to make it happen, man. And he'd just tell me, hey, go down to the service station, tell such and such, put it on my tab, man. And man, filled me up and got me to the crib, man. I'd probably say, man, that was a huge one, man. And I'll say, even at Colin, past that, another coach, man, Calvin Green, he was the DB coach. Also, too, man. I mean, I was still being a little bit of a knucklehead when I got there, man. And they had to call Coach Green one time to keep me from getting in anything else, it being further than what it could have been, man. And this was like 2 a.m, man. Coach Green came and got me. Coach Green made me watch the team close at like 2 a.m. practice the day before. I had a whole new appreciation for the equipment team, I tell you that.
Right.
But man, he had a real conversation with me though, and really just reminded me, man, that like, man, my family would drive them 3 hours every week, you know what I'm saying, to come see me play during the season. And he reminded me, like, dude, you got people who care about you, they here to support you. Don't let them down. You know what I'm saying? And so I'd also say, man, that was huge. And just, getting me back refocused, man.
Got it. Shout out to Colin, Kapaya Lincoln, man. We love to hear.
Kapaya Lincoln, man.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Good. Now, you're a very intelligent brother. Everybody and their mother knows that. Talk to me about
I appreciate that, man.
how you decided to, attend, JUCO, Vanderbilt. Talk to me about what went into your decision-making process around selecting colleges as you did.
Man, I think first, I mean, it's like everybody else, man. You're just looking at the colleges that's interested, man. You looking at how they perform, and originally for me, man, I wanted to go to Florida State, man. My oldest brother went there. Florida State was the family team,
Mm-hmm.
and man, they were in contact, man. The legend Mickey Andrews came to the school and came and hollered at me, man, and was telling me stories about when he coached my brother, and so, I thought it was a done deal, man. And at the time, man, I was number 4 tight end in the country, man, according to ESPN. And they signed number 1 and number 5. So it's cool to have an abundance of riches, but like, what you gonna do with that? And so, so man, I shifted. I shifted, man, and I was dead set on going to Ole Miss. And then we got down after the visit. I didn't commit on the visit. And they had been recruiting me tougher than any other school, man. And so, they felt like, man, we done put all this work in. If he ain't commit now, I don't know if he's serious, man. And so they actually called my head coach and rescinded the offer, man. And by that time I had visited Vandy. I was actually super impressed with Vandy. Shout out to Coach Carter.
Who's the head coach then?
At Vandy or Ole Miss?
Yeah, Vandy.
Bobby Johnson. This pre-Franklin, man. Bobby Johnson was there. He stepped down, and Robbie Caldwell, who was the O-line coach, took that interim year, and then they hired Franklin after that.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. And so by that time I went, man, I was super impressed, man. And man, I committed to Vandy, man, after that, For me, I looked at it, man, it was academically exactly what I needed, man. And because my family didn't play about getting your books, man, getting your grades. So man, it hit that. It was the SEC. So it was like, whether I go to Ole Miss, whether I go to Bama, whether I go to Auburn, wherever I go, I'm still playing the same talent. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm there. And so it hit that. And then the way they talked about using me, man, was like, okay, this let me be in like the H-back position, a Swiss Army knife, which was all good until I realized, man, part of that was like also playing fullback too. And I was like, oh no. hey man, I had my first welcome to college moment. I never forget this play, 46 slant. And basically I came off the line into the backfield, shifted over, and had to go kick out the DN. All I know, dog, is I went to go kick out the DN, man, and I woke up. Hey, so yeah, man. Yeah.
Oh, shoes. Okay.
It was crazy.
So you're at Vandy. Talk us through a little bit your journey, because we met at Southern Miss. So talk us through your journey, how you ended up getting to Southern Miss.
Yeah, man. So went to Vandy, man. Dog, highly recruited. Felt like I was the man, and man, got on campus, man. It's all new to me, man. Coming from Mississippi and going to the big town of Nashville, a school like Vandy where you truly do have a global student body. I mean, you had a lot of international students. I mean, it was a different experience, man, and it was a fantastic experience to be quite honest, man. And so, man, went through this. I ended up tearing my MCL in camp, and so ended up redshirting that season, man. And man, over the course of the year, man, just made some of those bonehead mistakes, man, and got myself in the doghouse, man, and then ultimately transferred out. And so went to Colin for a year, man. I started to go to Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. That was the one closest to home. Had friends there, but I think at that point in time, man, I felt like I kind of needed a reset, man. And going back with the homies, I don't know that would have did it. No. And so, man, I knew, one of my guys, my quarterback from high school, one of my guys to this day, was there playing basketball. Had two guys. Another guy who played basketball with me in high school was there. I was like, man, these cats that I know, they locked in, they focused. And so, man, decided to go there, man, and spent that year really grinding, man. But I tell you what, it gave me an appreciation that I think I needed for what I had at Vandy. No knock to Colin at all, man, but it's a completely different environment at a JUCO versus a SEC school, man.
Right. I already know.
Man, I mean, it went from no lie though. It went from like having a world-class everything, man. Particularly, we had our own separate cafeteria. Like, I remember they rewarded students for certain things on campus by like being able to come eat at the athletic training table, because we also shared the chef with the Tennessee Titans. Like, it was phenomenal, man. And so I remember going from that to like on the weekends, you couldn't even eat at the cafeteria at the school at Colin, man. Like, no lie, we had a Saturday practice one time. We had a Saturday practice one time, man. And we were supposed to go eat, have a chance to go to the cafeteria and eat before practice. We get there, the cafeteria closed. Closed. We can't do nothing. And the coach at the time, man, you know,
right
hey, and one of the coaches, man, to his credit, he spent it tough, man. We were called a wolf pack. He said, "Hey, man, that's all right. Hungry wolves hunt better." hey, man, hey, off the cuff, man. He was with it off the cuff. No, he just starving us, man. He was starving us, man. But man, but it gave me an appreciation, man. It really did. It really did.
Okay, fair enough.
Man, it built character for real.
There we go. So I meet you at Southern Miss. You know, I went on to leave. You stayed there. You finished up. Talk me through. You know, you're once you get out of Southern Miss, you're 4 or 5 years removed from being the top 5 tight end in high school football, right? So like,
yeah,
psychologically, I can't relate to that because I was a guy who didn't get my first real offer till like the week before signing day, right? Talk me through where your mind was seeing as how, what appeared to be like a guarantee, right? Because we all count money we don't have, right? We're looking at an opportunity, we're like, oh man, this does this, and I'll do this, and we start creating all these different worlds. Talk to me about where you were at 21, 22 years old when you realize maybe, right, like, oh man, this happened fast. And now you're in a new space because you have a different appreciation for that because for you, there's like a real expectation. Whereas for a lot of us, the expectation wasn't really there, right? So maybe talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, you know what? I think there was a real pivotal moment. I was when it kind of came full circle, man. We were getting ready for the bowl game my senior year. And at that point, Coach Fedora called, I'm assuming all the seniors in the just kind of the, hey man, what's your plans after college? And first and foremost, right? If he having that conversation with you, it probably ain't the league, right? Because that would have been a whole different conversation, right? but really having to sit down and say, okay, what does this look like from here, man? And man, really had to sit down and think about that, man. At that point, I had my son, man. So had him my senior year, and so now I'm thinking about it ain't just me, right? I'm not just thinking about my future, but I'm thinking about his, and how do I provide for him, man? And man, that was a tough realization at first, man. To really think about.
Was that the first time you like literally double clicked and thought about life after ball? Was that meeting?
Yeah, wow. Man. And I say that because I had a realization that I had more responsibility when I had my son, right? And so my grind, I would say my grind my senior year, and probably with most cats, man, that was probably the hardest I ever grinded, man. That was the best shape I had ever been in, man. That was the most serious I had ever taken it, man. And so, I think I thought about it in that capacity and realized, okay, I gotta really put everything into it, man. But like that was probably my first like real where it clicked. I really have to think about what it is because the whole time you training and you going hard and you playing throughout the season, you still hoping that you're gonna do something that catch the eye of the scouts, and you still got pro day coming up, man. You still got opportunities. You know what I'm saying to make that impression, and so I think it wasn't until that bowl game. It's the last game of my college career. And that conversation happens, and it's like, okay, I really do got to think about what's after football.
Yeah. And when you were thinking about it, help me understand like how much of your thought process around it was rooted in, man, I'm supposed to be versus I feel like all things being equal, I've been doing the best that I can, post the Vanderbilt incident. Like, talk to me a little bit about like what was going in your mind. Did you feel in any way like, man, I'm supposed to be here or there, or was it more so just like we'll see, I still have an opportunity? Just curious, like where your mind was.
Yeah, man. I mean, if I'm gonna be honest, right? It's kind of one of them things you think back on every time you could have did more. You know what I'm saying? And put yourself in a better position to where, it's not having to be hopeful. You've secured that. And so I think first and foremost, it was truly starting to think back on every chance I had to do more, man. I think there's still hope, right? Because at the end of the day, still had pro day, right? And we had just seen people from Southern Miss go to pro day and like get an opportunity that didn't get invited to the combine, or you know what I'm saying. So you knew that there was hope. You know what I'm saying. But like you knew that was really that's a last ditch effort, man.
The shot in
In,
the
in
dark.
that capacity.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying. So like realistically, also thinking about what that looks like, man. And to your point, like, man, I should have. I look at myself, man. I say, dog, I got the talent, got the size, know the game, right? There's nothing that stopped me but me just capitalizing on the opportunities I had along the way, man. But at the same time, man, it took a minute for me to really realize, man, that man, the path that's for you, man, you gonna get there either way, right? And that just
That's
wasn't it for me. And
right.
man, I've gone on to do some pretty cool things along the way, man. And even at Southern Miss, man, I remember man, you were there when we started doing music, man, me and
Music, yeah.
TC,
You
and
and you and
you
TC,
know,
yeah, 29, yeah.
yeah, man, yeah,
Hmm.
man. And so from there, I mean, I had an opportunity to build relationships within the university that the average people didn't have, man. Like, you know, I had an opportunity to really partner within the athletic department. We created game day anthems, man, that we got paid to create. You know what I'm saying? We got a chance to build a marketing program around it that at the time, we did a promotion one year for Name the Song, right? And that poll on the Southern Miss athletic website was the highest engaged post of history at that point in time, man. I got a chance to do a lot of cool things, man. I even had an offer to join the athletic department in fundraising behind those types of things. And so, when I think about the other doors that open and things of that nature, I think it worked out how it was supposed to work out. But yeah, I wasn't feeling like that in the moment.
Nobody
I
does.
wasn't feeling like that in the moment, man.
Nobody
No,
does.
man, and it took a minute too. I'll tell you one of the big realizations, or one of the biggest things. I went back home, and right away, man, I was fortunate, man. So just looking for jobs back home, man. Got on at C Spire Wireless, a wireless company. They actually were one of the sponsors. They had their logo on the helmets for all the Mississippi schools. And fortunate enough, I put in the application. The manager of the other location happened to be married to one of the teachers at my high school, and then one of the employees there that was my one of my best friend's wife. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, literally, I put the application in. It wasn't 10 minutes later. She picked up the phone and called me and said, "Hey, are you serious?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She was like, "All right, cool, come in." Right. And so it was fortunate, but like there was also an adjustment of like, I'm back in my hometown. This is the cell phone store. So when people come in and see me, it's like, "Hey, dog, what you doing there?" You know what I'm saying? So like that was an adjustment period too.
And you've got the sun. You've got to do
Yep.
something. You're in that store. We know where the story leads ultimately, where we are now.
Yep.
You're a monster at what you do. You're one of the best in the world. But help me understand what was going on in that store mentally for you to help propel you to get to where you are now. And by that, I mean, what specific actions did you start taking that you weren't taking prior to help catapult you into where you are in the corporate space? And maybe before you jump
Man,
into it, I want you to real quick say what it is that your title right now, and then I want you to go into it, just because I want to brag on it. Go ahead.
man, I'm the director of franchise development for Wingstop.
In case you thought it was a game.
But
But keep
but
going.
man,
But keep
you know what
going.
is fun? It's funny though, because that led to this realistically. So I think two things happened, man. First and foremost, it was sales. And we come from being competitive.
Yeah.
So all I needed was the rankings. And at that
Mm-hmm.
point, now I'm trying to be number one all the time, man. Um, and I think secondly, though, man, that can't be understated was, man, just being in a real good environment, man, that felt like a team, that truly felt like a team, man. And the environment that was created in that location was exactly what I needed, coming off of always being a part of a team, right? That environment was exactly what was needed. And so, that helped the transition as well, man. But that ambition, wanting to know other aspects of it all, from soup to nuts, man. I even interviewed to be like a technician at one point. And like, I mean,
Just
got to like the
learning.
final round too, man. and so, man, it was just that was what I needed, man. And so, from there I ended up getting hit up by a headhunter about a role at Burger King, and I'm looking, Burger King. All I knew were the restaurants,
Right,
man.
right,
But
right.
this was a corporate role that was like training slash, operations, which what I was doing, customer service, crossed over a little bit, and so kind of like a corporate trainer essentially. And but from there, got into it on the corporate side of things. And for me, I've always been about sales, man. How do we increase revenue, man? How do we increase profitability? And so, that just kept moving me from one role to the next. It took me from that to marketing. You know what I mean? It took me from that back to operations to a business consultant, right? It took me from there to like running a market. You know what I mean? And then ultimately transition to different parts of the business that ultimately came today. But really, it was working at that cell phone place, right? Having that customer service experience was the first thing that stuck out to the recruiter who was looking for people to fill that role.
Man, you know what's amazing hearing the story and what I'm picking up on that I didn't even know before, and I've known you for a while now, is across these different stops. What I'm hearing is we're seeing an entrepreneurial spirit, right? Like literally creating songs, anthems at Southern Miss while you're a player, right? We're seeing sales, we're seeing operations, we're seeing marketing, right? We're seeing even your capacity and appetite to explore the more technical aspects of whatever it is you're involved in. All of these roads lead to the position you're in right now, right? So before we get into your position right now, I want to talk to you about as you were planning to get to where you ultimately got, how much of it was, having, an actual notepad and saying like, oh, this is what I want to do, writing it out, being consistent, or how much of it was just your own competitive fire and realizing, well, there's an opportunity for me to be better and learn more here and going from here to there. Or some combination in between. Help me understand that path, man.
Man, if I'm honest, I only had like one real goal. I just wanted to get to six figures at some point in some capacity. That was literally my only goal. I think everything else though was driven by curiosity. Like
Right.
I'm curious. I'm one of those people, man. My family joke. I'm the fun fat guy, man. Like I know a little bit of something about almost everything, man. And so like,
Right.
and not saying that in a cocky
No.
way, but like I'm just curious, right? The
Yeah.
most boring, mundane things, I'll at
Hmm.
least want to have some perspective on it. And
Yeah.
so I think a lot of it honestly was just curiosity, man, is curious about, okay, I know what I'm doing, and I know when I interact with you, what does your job entail? You know what I mean? And like, you know what, man, I've been thinking about like in my job how this could be beneficial in this
Right.
capacity. And then, honestly, that's how I got my first my first promotion, man. Just reaching out to the marketing director, not even looking for an opportunity, but like, hey, have you guys thought about XYZ, right? And they rolled out some like analysis project that they were going to do on different markets to figure out how to make them perform better from a sales standpoint with marketing. And I just asked, hey, whenever you do it for mine, can I help? Next thing I know, man, we got on the call. He sent me the template, walked me through how to do it, and say, hey, man, I'll call you in 2 weeks, see what you came up with. 2 weeks later, man, we had the call. A week later, I had an offer to move into marketing. And so like it's always just been curiosity. It wasn't really you always want to progress and excel and do better and go to different heights, but realistically, it was just curiosity, man.
Yeah, I love that. And I think a lot of people, and this is going to be maybe like a little educational element of this talk because I think it's fascinating what you're doing, and I think a lot of people don't fully understand what goes into these franchises. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you're in a space now, and we talked about it a little bit before the call. This is a for some like wealth creation vehicle, right? Like we both played football in Mississippi, blindside.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I was there. The Tui family. These guys had. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens with that.
Yep.
But they owned a ton of franchises. Help me understand what it means to help run a franchise and what goes into the operations, the decision around the location, and how that rolls up into your job, just so people can kind of understand what all goes into that.
Yeah. So the first thing, man, is really understanding what franchising is, man. It's truly having the opportunity to run your own business, but with the branding, the systems, the processes of a bigger brand that's already established, right? And you got a lot of companies out there that's doing it, man. But if we really you want to go with one that's established, they've proven, they have a proven track record, and they have the infrastructure to really help you be successful. But it's like you got to make the investment, right, of opening the location and hiring and getting people in place, but you get started with a name brand that's already recognized. You so to speak have customers already built in, right? You
Wow.
don't have to figure out how to operate this. You don't need to figure out how long does the chicken need to cook. You don't have to think about how much sauce to put on the wings. There's a manual that literally tells you exactly how to do that. When you're trying to think about, man, how many people do I need to hire, or how many people do I need to have on a shift at any given time, there's a manual that tells you how to do that, right? And so you get to establish a business that's kind of already pre-made, so to speak. But you got to make the investment, and you gotta also know that like it's truly work that goes into it, man. I mean, there's some businesses that allow you to be a little bit more semi-absent, but most businesses, and you gotta be active for it to be successful until you've built out a big enough team and infrastructure to where you got people who can handle the day-to-day for you, man. But that's first and foremost. That's what it is. But to that point, man, we go out and we look for, people who are either already franchising in different brands, or, depending on the size of your company and who you're targeting. Sometimes it's just, people coming from corporate ready to make a transition, right? They got enough money to get started, and they can go to the bank and get the lending. Or there are people who, maybe they're not going to quit their day job, right? But they're going to do
Right.
this as something on the side. Now, the brands I've been with, we want people who are more career franchisees. They have a pretty sizable portfolio already, but you come in, you find those people, and you bring you take them through an interview process where you're interviewing them and they're interviewing you to see if your brand makes sense for them. And so as we get through that, we take it kind of culminates in what we call a discovery day, where we bring them to our corporate office. They get a chance to meet all of the executive leaders, and then also kind of that next level of leaders within each department, and learn about how they interact and how they support them. They get a chance to go tour a restaurant, try all of the products, and then from there make the decision, hey, is this what you want to do? And we make the decision, do we want to move forward with that person? Because we also have to protect the brand and make sure that whoever we bring in represents us in the right way. But once you get through that and it's time to go, we're looking to do two things, man. We're gonna figure out what's your point of entry. So like, are you gonna buy some existing stores that gets you started, and maybe we sell a development agreement on top of that? Or are you getting started from scratch and we're going to sign you up to, open 5 stores in X amount of years? And then we go from there. That's the first piece. And then, but you have so much support to help you in that. So once I've gotten people through that point, and it's a little bit different process if it's somebody that's already in the system that wants to expand. Similar, but it's, you don't go through that front end stuff. We've already done that.
Yeah.
But once we get you through that, we feel good about you. You feel good about us. We've signed the terms. We've got you, the agreement executed. Today in my role, at that point, I start doing handoffs, right? And so I make an introduction to the operations team so that, they can start working with you and getting you, set up, right? I introduce them to real estate, because now you got to go find, a site that you're going to go and whether it's build from scratch or whether you're going to renovate to go into. They hand you off to construction once you found the site. The construction manager walks with you from start to finish, right? Hiring architects, getting bids from GCs, different, and then managing the project along the way, like with you, and then you go through training. We got a whole training department, right? You come through, the academy, right, and get trained up for 3 to 4 weeks, so that when you go back, not only can you operate, but you can train your team after that. Then if it's your first one, when you open, we actually bring, a trainer for 2 trainers the first time for 2 weeks to help you get open and get started, right? And so, I mean, there's a lot of support that comes with all of those things, man. And so, once you're done, obviously it's going to be a level of nervousness, especially if it's your first time, but you should have had all the support that made you feel good about it. And in that, you pay the company a royalty, right? There's a fee that we charge on a monthly basis that, allows us to operate and continue to provide that support. And then there's another marketing fee, right, that we pull out to make sure that we're able to advertise the brand and continue to grow the brand so that your locations, as well as everyone else's, continue to benefit and grow. But when you think about, you giving up that little bit for all of the support for a business that you don't have to grow from scratch and try to figure out name recognition and how to operate it efficiently. I mean, and then when you think about the operations, we have field marketing managers that help you do your local store marketing. We have franchise business consultants that they're looking at your numbers on a weekly basis, and they're coming doing, visits, coaching visits. They're doing business reviews with you. They have a business director that they report into that helps, support a region at a higher level. And then they got a regional vice president that helps with everything from ops to, development to, everything. And so there's also a lot of support that comes with that wants you to be successful. And there's so many opportunities in this that I don't see us represented nearly enough.
Man, I feel like I should have paid you for this, because this was a complete amazing lecture on the process to going from a wannabe franchisee to be actually becoming what I'm hearing at each and every step, you're de-risking the probability for the owner to say make a mistake and not have a successful store, or successful entryway into their ownership journey. The thing that's really interesting to me when I think about where you've come from high school, college, and the like, knowing what this process looks like, how does this inform your decision-making process like on the regular, right? One of the things that I see is once individuals like ascend to like a certain level professionally, corporately, they just think about things differently. And what differently means is a lot more long-term thinking, right?
Yep. Yep.
Help me understand in your role in your life how you started to evolve the way that you think, whether it be from a time perspective, whether it be from an outcomes perspective, whether it be in any different facet of your life, and how your role and your maturation has impacted that.
Man, in so many ways, man. I think maybe above everything is it's it's really elevated my perspective of the level of possibility, right?
Mm,
Because the reality of it is when I first got the call from Burger King a year and a half out of college, only
right,
thing I knew about was this store. And I'm like, are you asking me to be a manager? Because nah. you know, to
right,
realizing that like there's actually a corporate side that has everything in it, right? That goes all the way to the CEOs, depending on the size of your business, right? And they're making millions to tens of millions of dollars annually, right? And things of that nature. But on the flip side of that, you have the franchisees that you're actually supporting, and like they're making millions of dollars,
right,
and
right,
creating their own path, right? And so then you start to look and you see, okay, all right. I look at some of the people that are coming in who I'm supporting, right? And you say, man, hey, I mean, it's a sharp guy, man, but no sharper than me,
come on, right,
Um, or you look and you say, you're going out and recruiting people and you're hearing their story and how they got in, and you're like, okay, well, they came through this path and had an opportunity to transition, right? Or you look at the people who on the corporate side had an opportunity to continue to grow into executive level roles, and you're like, well, okay, I saw your path. That looks like a path that I can take as well. And so I think first and foremost was really expanding my perspective on possibility. I
right,
think past that is how I go about, you know, my own thing. So I mean, I haven't gotten into franchising at this point, man, but that's something that's a ultimate goal for me, but I started investing in real estate, right? And I started thinking about, how do I take the money I was making in corporate America and really create something else, right? Something that I could build. It started out as just something, I could build and say, I started a business or I got a couple properties and I got a little extra money to do some things with. But over time, when I look at these franchisees and they're getting their kids involved in the business, right? Very
mm,
young.
mm,
Um, and by 30 or so, they're handing it over to them, right? And these kids, the second generation, sometimes third, they're taking over a portfolio of 30, 40 Burger Kings, right? That bring in 60, 70 million dollars in top line revenue, right? And so you're looking like, okay,
right,
oh, okay. Right. And so now how do I start building something? And so, it changed the way I thought about how I leverage the money I make. Right. And so I've started building a real estate portfolio of my own of rental properties. And now it's like, okay, I'm getting to a point of how do I professionalize this a little bit? And
mm,
I'm able to kind of draw parallel to like these franchisees who, as they grow and get to a certain scale, they got to start putting additional infrastructure in place. Okay,
right,
I got to do the same thing. It's a
right,
different business, but it's the same thing.
right,
Or even in my day-to-day job, right? At a certain point, once
mm,
we're doing a certain amount of business, we gotta scale up the infrastructure. And so,
right.
that and what are the processes that we put in place to make sure that things run smoothly, man. And so it's
Love
been a
that.
lot of that, if I'm
I love
perfectly
that.
honest. And I'll go back to the possibility piece today, man. I've had the pleasure, man, of working with people from your mom and pop, people just transitioning from corporate America to professional athletes, to people who are just large franchisees, to private equity, right? People are going out and raising, $50 million, $100 million to go get into something, right? And even how that looks. It's been a great experience that I think has expanded my perspective on everything, man.
Got it, man. I love this, and I love your story. I'm super happy you're on the pod. if there's a message or just a concept that you think you would want for an undergrad student athlete to have in mind as they transition from whatever sport they're playing or just college in general to the real world. We talk a little bit about expanding your concept of what's possible, but I'm curious if there's anything else that you think would be valuable, a valuable little nugget just to keep in their mind as they get ready to transition. What would that concept, thought, or phrase be?
I would say, man, you almost have to have a overly confident perspective of yourself and your capabilities, but also have the humility to learn, right? And to be teachable and coachable, right? And what I mean by that is there's nothing that you can't do other than what you convince yourself you can't do, right? And there has to be almost like a unnatural belief in that to really maximize that. But you also can't have a conceited or a cocky perspective to it, confident, obviously, but to the point to where the people who could help you harness that, who can help you move from one level to the next, who can open doors, they want to be able to see you as somebody that's coachable, that's teachable, that they can take under their wing, right? And so it's the balance of the two of that. I think it starts with that confidence, and then it ends with that coachability.
Master, I don't know what to tell you, bro, other than we got to do it again, man. I appreciate it so much. I learned so much.
Man, anytime,
I
man.
mean, we might have to put this on LinkedIn Learning, man. I mean, just learn so much about franchising, man. I really appreciate it. I'm happy you dug into it. And
Yeah.
man, we'll stay in touch. For people who want to reach out
Oh
to
yeah,
you,
most definitely.
what is the best way for them to reach out to you?
Man, send me an email, jmass, JMASS, the number 19 at Gmail. I'm on, Instagram, the real JMass with a underscore in between the underscore real underscore JMass. On Instagram, I'm pretty active there. And then Jonathan J Massey on Facebook, man. That's, probably the easiest ways to catch me.
I love it, man. Anything coming down the pipe that we should be looking forward to, that kind of thing? Anything you working on?
Man, continue to grow this portfolio, continue to
I already
excel,
know.
man, and career wise, man. But one of the things I'm working on right now is an ebook, man, for real estate.
Love it.
Really focusing on people who want to get into real estate investing, specifically for rentals, single family rentals, or those people who have a couple of them and looking to scale. Yeah, look for that coming, man.
I got
I've
you.
started the company. I think is gonna focus on the name, the name of the book will be Knock Knock, How to Make the House Next Door Your Next Door,
Come on.
and under the umbrella of my first 10 properties. And really just overall, I have a bigger vision for it to be being a complete, kind of educational platform, with different components to it of really that are really lessons from me getting to my first 10 properties and kind of building on
Man,
the lessons on that, man. But
I
so that
love
so
it.
that ebook, man, is one thing that I say be on the lookout for.
Man. Well, Massey, I appreciate you, brother. This was amazing. I think there's so much information, once again, that people
Absolutely.
are going to pull from this. Yeah, we'll be in touch, man. We're happy to have you on the Something Like the Offseason podcast, man. I'll see you soon.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, man.